Wonderful. A very good morning, very good afternoon, a very good evening, wherever you are tuning into this broadcast from. Hello, my name is Nishit Kotak. I am here with the team from Hindu Academy. A global namaste to you all. If you're joining us for the very first time, let me just briefly explain how the broadcast format is. We run every Saturday from 2 p.m. UK time to about 3 p.m. So we run for about 1 hour. We do start with a focused topic, and today's topic is a topical one based on some of the changes that are being proposed in the abortion laws in Texas. So we are going to be looking at abortion and in Hinduism and some of the questions around that topic. After that, we will go into a live Q&A session. So I would encourage you to like and share on Facebook and YouTube the videos that you're watching, and then join in on the conversation by typing into the chat area or the comments area any questions you have, any comments you've got, any thoughts you have regarding the topic of the day or anything to do with Hinduism. So we will pick it up and we will answer that live on air where possible. So to get started, I will first share the focus topic video for today. Bear with me as I get the video up and running. And then we'll come back and have a little discussion around it.
If we take into account reincarnation, surely abortion is morally wrong.
You see, abortion is wrong anyway because you are taking life. But suppose the issue arises, this is the kind of philosophical issue challenge you will face when you're doing exams. Suppose the issue arises whereby they say, either we abort this embryo, otherwise the mother's life is in danger. What will you do? Because you have to now choose whether to let the mother live or whether the embryo live. How would you decide? There's no clear-cut rule. So sometimes it is difficult, it's a very grayscale area. There's no clear-cut black and white answer. And then suppose another issue arises. Suppose they say this embryo, when somebody is pregnant, they say this embryo has got serious malfunction, it doesn't have a heart or something, and it's just struggling to survive. It is just suffering rather than enjoying being born. So let this embryo go. Let it go, because it's struggling and suffering, and even if it's born, it'll die instantly. Why do you want this suffering to be carried on? Why should the embryo continue to suffer? Think about it. And the law of karma in Hinduism says, if you see an issue in front of your eyes and you turn your back, say, no, I don't care, that is bad. You must address the issue and resolve it. So you have to take a decision. And suppose, there's a Hindu tradition also says this idea of reincarnation. That means maybe this embryo, this person, individual is trying to get born here, has acquired a wrong embryo, which is a faulty embryo. So by discarding this embryo, this person is not going to die. That individual will find, re-expression in another body, in another embryo, which hopefully is more healthy. So why do you want this individual to go through this suffering and go through hell? Leave him alone. Let him go. Same is true with euthanasia. Let him go, because he'll find a fresh body, a fresh embryo, a fresh life, hopefully, which will allow him to lead a full life rather than a life of struggle. So Hinduism is very clear. That's the only way it differs greatly from the Abrahamic tradition. I'm not saying it's encouraging abortion or it's encouraging euthanasia, but simply saying take into account the theory of reincarnation that you will get a new body, and take into account the fact that if you see suffering in front of your eyes and you turn your back, that's bad karma too. These are both these laws that are central in Hinduism. It doesn't mean willy-nilly kill everybody, and somebody who's euthanasia, go on, we'll kill you. It's not just willy-nilly killing somebody. You have to think about it. It's a grayscale area, but this is the openness of this tradition.
And so there we go, folks. It is a really touchy subject for many people. Of course, it's very emotional. And there are many strong opinions around this particular subject. And so the reason why we are looking into this again, so Hinduism and abortion, is because it's a very topical thing at the moment with some of the changes in the abortion law in the USA. USA is usually known for progressive, forward thinking regulations and so on. They usually lead the way. but to have the kind of changes that they've proposed in Texas is actually going backwards and is quite restrictive. And so this is just an open forum for us to have a look at this topic and then see how does Hinduism relate to it as well. So I'm going to hand over to my team. We've got Manish Bhai, Sita Ben, Vijay Bhai. They're already here. Hello, everybody. And folks, I will hand over to Manish Bhai, who will then carry on the Q&A section from here.
Thank you, Nishit Bhai. Very interesting topic, and it's a very touchy topic. A big grayscale area is it's about matter and death situation for a newborn embryo. And the story is that in 1973, U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Roe versus Wade case. They guaranteed the right to an abortion in U.S. And what's happened is recently the senior judges in U.S. have reviewed this case and they are looking to overturn that judgment, which means that the abortion could become illegal in U.S. So that is the situation. What is your take on this, Vijay Bhai?
Okay, this is a very, very controversial topic, as you mentioned. But look, in Hinduism, as a matter of fact, not only Hinduism, but all religions, life is sacred. And like other religions as well, Hinduism believes that life begins at conception. So that is kind of, I think no religion would say that an embryo is not life. That's not how it works. But having said that, there are a lot of awkward situations, different situations. So as Jayba mentioned in the video, sometimes the life of the child or the mother is at stake. The Hindus said that you have to use the right decision in that case. In that case, if the child is going to be born, because I've heard of certain cases that some children are born with 3 chromosomes, and as soon as they're born, within 2-3 hours, they'll pass away or suffer tremendously. And I would suggest in that case, take the advice of the doctor or something and get good advice and act accordingly. Like there was recently a case, I think in Ireland as well, when one of the mothers couldn't have an abortion and the child was actually very weak and I think also died in the womb. And they refused her abortion. Eventually, she got poisoned as well and she passed away. So now there can be very, very strict rules. That's the issue. But regarding America, the right to abort, the thing is this, that even if we say, okay, abortion is illegal now, because the life of embryo is sacred, which Hinduism, all religions believe is sacred. The question is this, what will happen is not that abortion will stop, it will happen in the back streets. And therein lies the problem. We'll have a problem where both mother and fetus will die. That's a very big problem. So the issue is this, you want to make the best of a bad situation. That's why I think I'm personally saying that in that case, legally and safely done is better option. But having said that, I mean, I worked for many years in Scandinavia. Even though abortion is legal, it's very rare because from very young age, children are taught very clearly how to have safe sex, how to use contraception of wide variety. So very young, you're told that actually don't fall in the situation in the first place. Never try and do, have your kind of lifestyle in such a way they don't end up in a situation that you have to go for an abortion. So these are the dynamics and complex issues we have here. So by and large, I think a blanket ban and saying we need permission from a doctor and permission from, so it can have different kinds of dynamics. It's a very, very big gray area. But let's make one thing clear that like all religions, Hindus also believe life begins at conception and the soul, starts at that point. That's a baseline. But of course, as you mentioned, there are a lot of gray areas, life of mother, child at risk. These are the issues here. So I think a blanket ban is also not good either. So there has to be I don't know the full story of the US, but by and large, you have to have a balance between the right of the mother as well decide for herself, balance between what the real situation, what is reality. In reality, this happens. How do you make sure it's safely done? These are the kind of questions which are in play here. That's all I can add to this topic. Sita Ben?
I completely agree with you that, if you try and sort of put a blanket ban on it, it will still continue happening, but in a much unsafer environment. And you can end up losing 2 lives rather than just 1 life. And it's really, really frightening. So we have to be extremely careful. But in Hinduism, we've got 3 things which can help to sort of guide these very, very difficult decisions. So that's the law of karma, the idea of reincarnation, and the idea of ahimsa. These 3 things can help to guide us on this very, very difficult decision that you might have to make at some point in your life. As Dad was saying in the video, suppose you find out that the embryo that you're carrying has got some kind of malfunction, that it's going to suffer a great deal when it's born. Hinduism wouldn't say that, you know, you must still carry forward with it, even though life is sacred. That's what ahimsa is all about. But the fact that you are prolonging the suffering of that embryo, maybe even prolonging the suffering of the mother, is it really worthwhile to then prolong it for the whole rest of their life? And maybe what kind of quality of life is there for the mother, for the family, for the baby? It makes you think about all of these very, very difficult issues. And that's the wonderful thing about Hinduism, is that it doesn't offer a whitewash, this is right, this is wrong. It says essentially, because we are the spirit, we should be able to feel empowered enough to make those decisions for ourselves. They are incredibly personal decisions, and it's not something which can be decided by the injunction of a religion or a law of government. It's one of those incredibly personal things. So if we put a whitewash ban on it, it can, as Vijay Bhai say, cause a great deal of problems in the back streets and really cause a great deal of suffering. So very, very difficult subject to deal with.
Thank you, Sitaben. Yes, it's a very hot topic, and it's a controversial subject, especially many people with Christian background are very pro banning of the abortion. So it's a big grayscale area, but it's also a women's right issue, because does a woman choose to be mother or not? And if by mistake she's become pregnant, does she have her right over her body to have the baby or not? Or should the court decide whether she can abort or not? What is your point of view on that, Sitaben?
Yeah, of course, I completely agree with the point of view that, you know, it's the mother's body, so she has to have the decision as to whether she should keep the body or keep the baby or not. But then it shouldn't be done in a frivolous way that, you know, just because you happen to have become pregnant doesn't mean, oh yeah, I just abort. There has to be some serious consideration there. You know, is there some kind of issue? Are you going to have financial issues in bringing up the child? Are you going to have enough family support? Because raising a child requires the support of a great sort of family network, and you need to have all of that in place to give that child a great quality of life. So it's not one of those things that you should frivolously decide whether to keep the baby or not, but you have to really consider what kind of quality of life are you able to provide to this child. And I mean, I'm not sure about the US laws, but in the UK law, I think it's up to 24 weeks you are allowed to have an abortion. But even then, like, how do you decide whether, you know, that child or that embryo is a actual human being with their own human rights at that point, or literally a day after 24 weeks they're then considered to be a human with their own human rights? It's an incredibly difficult subject. But as Vijay Bhai said, we believe in Hinduism that, you know, from conception, that soul is present in that body, and that is a real living human being from that point. So even to say 24 weeks, you're like, it's such an arbitrary distinction. Like, how do you know when is the right time? So it's one of those very, very difficult decisions. Suppose, you know, the mother has been subject to rape and then she becomes pregnant. What do you do in those kind of situations? What kind of quality of life is that mother going to be able to provide to the child? So very, very difficult to know the right thing to do. And you just have to let your conscience be your guide, because ultimately the decision is yours as a mother, as a family, as to what to do. Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, again, it's a tricky topic. I believe the Texas law was saying as early as 6 weeks. Now, I think that can cause problems because, as Sita mentioned, if in the case of sexual assault and you prep her for 6-7 weeks, then she has no choice, right? But I know also in the UK, I believe some babies as early as 26, 27 weeks. There've been 1 or 2 cases when they've just about survived. Not 24 weeks yet, but there have been debates now to bring it a bit lower because science and technology is becoming even lower and lower. But I think there are other issues at play. One is society issues, because personally, this is my personal view. I think the biggest thing is that if a single mother is pregnant, is the question of why society looks at it negatively. That's the biggest issue here. If you say that it's okay, I mean, personally, I think it's perfectly okay and happily support the mother's choice to have a child and support her financially, then everything will become, as it is, I mean, human fertility rate is falling down a lot. And we're having so few babies. I think any baby born, even single mother, we should be happy in the choice personally, because the way things are is so tough. I know, I think I know that even again, Scandinavia, because they think differently, and I've been there. Nobody says anything. If the baby is born to single mother, they're actually all happy, and the whole family gathers around and supports the choice. Even if it's a young mother, like 18-year, 17-year-old mother, if she wants to have a choice, the family is to support her and extended family. Everybody is trained and taught in schools that it's okay if a woman should have a baby at that age. So what happens in that case is that there are more options. She doesn't feel that she has to go through abortion because nobody cares. So part and parcel in society's mentality has to change, that actually, if there are cases where the single mother has got a child out of wedlock, give her that option, give her the support. Then the thing is, then everything changes. A couple of things in place. One, have the idea of safe sex, teach that properly, that actually you shouldn't be in the situation in the first place. And if you do, you have the choice that the family, the society, the state will support you to have their child. Then you have a lot of options open to you. And then in that case, I suspect that this idea of abortion will go down a lot. So I think society has a big role to play in this idea, and not to vilify a single mother. That's the first thing. But nevertheless, if the mother decides to have an abortion for whatever reason, and the key thing is this, that the worry is this, as Sita I mentioned again, and as I mentioned earlier, if you say no, and she goes in the back streets, then both will suffer. So I think then you'll have to have that case. But why not create a society in the first place that the choice of somebody doing an abortion becomes extremely low? So try and aim for society which works in that fashion. Then I think this issue will become not as big as it is now. That's the key, I think, point. So entire schooling system, the society's attitude system, everything has to change. If that changes, then I think we are in a much better place. Yeah, Manish, right?
Interesting subject, and yes, thanks for those enlightening answers there, Sita bin Vijay. So one thing is, there are people, many people in the world now who don't want children, and there are people who are taking drugs and all this, and somehow they fell pregnant and they don't want the children. And sometimes when they have the children, they treat the children very badly, and some children are even abused. And in that case, is it not better for them, allow them to have the abortion and not let that child suffer? Or what is your point of view on that, Vijay?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, that's a possibility, obviously, that people have children, become pregnant, and they don't really want to do that. As I said, again, society is structured in such a way that they say it's her fault, we should interfere, she should go and abort it. In that case, I guess she might do that because she feels there's nothing she can do, because she'll have all the options are closed to her. She can't make a decision. She doesn't have options to make decision. That's the problem. You're right. A lot of parents are dying to have children, but they can't have any. They have to go through so much pain and struggle. The state was designed in such a way that actually, if the mother said, look, somebody will take your child from you, or raise some child in a nice environment, maybe she might choose an option saying, by the way, let me have a child anyway, she might have a good life. But the key thing is, in many societies, those options are not open. So I think we need to create a society structure where a lot of options are open again, as I mentioned, so that the option of abortion is not the primary option. Yeah, it's the second or third option. That's the kind of society we want to create. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you ask anybody, says, yeah, they can't have children, they're not worthy of children. And you hear it all the time on layman stuff. But remember, from a religious point of view, life is sacred in the womb as well. So we have to try and think a different way and balance the situation that the embryo is sacred, what is the best option we can do so that the child, if born, can have the best environment? And there's a lot of things we can change in society to kind of do that. Yeah, Sita?
Yeah, no, it's true, because if we sort of get rid of this idea that it's taboo to have an abortion, then it can help a lot of people to make the right decision. As Manishbhai was saying, suppose that child is going to be born into a home where the child is completely unwelcome and they're treated so badly. And here in the UK, we've had a few cases recently in the news of children being treated terribly, and it's really, really frightening. So for them, especially because in Hinduism we believe in the idea of reincarnation, it gives us some kind of comfort and belief that if you do have to have an abortion, that you're not snuffing out life. That person will move on to another body, another fresh body, where maybe their circumstances will be better. So having this idea of reincarnation in the background is a great help. It's a great comfort. If you are stuck with having to make the decision of aborting an embryo, at least you know that you wish them well on their onward journey. You're not just snuffing out life. So, from a materialistic point of view, that's what you're doing. You're snuffing out life, and it's a horrible thought. I mean, how can you live with yourself? It's like murder. But from the point of view of reincarnation, you're just sort of wishing them well on their onward journey. And another sort of thing to consider is that, I think because society has a tendency to become quite promiscuous and people have one-night stands and all of that, if people are just a little bit more careful, they're a bit more dignified in how they approach this kind of aspect of life, then maybe these kind of situations won't really arise as much. So having that sort of idea of self-control, having that dignity to say, I will choose my life partner and choose to have a family at the right time for both of us, for our family, it avoids having to deal with these awful situations. So although it sounds incredibly old-fashioned, it may be best to just sort of hold your ground, stand your ground and say, I'm not just going to go around having one-night stands. I'm going to be careful. I'm going to plan my family life with the right partner.
Thank you for that, Sitaben. Interesting point of view, and I do support and agree with you that we got an interesting question from Charmaine. She's saying, from a karma perspective, if a woman aborts a defective fetus that is dangerous to her life, or say the embryo is there is some genetical problem and it's not going to be okay, and a decision is made to save abort the child and save the person, whose karma is impacted? She's asking. See that one?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, I mean, my dad has said many times in these videos about the law of karma. The law of karma is incredibly complex. It's not just one action affects one person and that's it. There's a whole host of different factors which affect our lives, not just our own karma, but the karma of those around us. So by sort of, choosing to have an abortion of an embryo that is going to be suffering a tremendous amount, you're actually practicing ahimsa, because you're not letting that child suffer and you're not letting yourself suffer, because ahimsa is an incredibly important thing to consider as well. So perhaps you're even acquiring good karma by stopping that life from suffering, and also your own life as well. So you have to take into consideration. And similarly, it reminds me very much of the other end of the life scale, which is euthanasia. Sometimes you're in a difficult situation there where you think that you should prolong the life of somebody who has got a terminal condition, but they may be suffering so much. It makes you think, this is torture for that poor person. Why not just let them go? Because as I said before, we've got this idea of reincarnation. Let them go. They're not going to disappear. They're going to be around, but they'll have a fresh body, a fresh chance at life. So having this idea of life after death that Hinduism and all the Indic traditions offer can really help to guide us on these very difficult decisions. Vijay bhai?
Yeah, I guess that's one of the plus points of Hinduism, that unlike in the Abrahamic faith, there's true life scenario. So they're in a much more tricky situation. But I think the question, I agree with the question. You can never say how karma is at play. It could be there's some karmas from the mother side that are coming to fruition, or new karma starting, or same with the fetus, the embryo. The karmas maybe is playing out from many lives. We don't know for sure. So we really can't pin that down, because as I mentioned, karma is not as straightforward. So karma is at play, but we can't say whose karma is impacted in a positive manner, negative. We really can't say that. But all we can say is that we make a decision. The decision we make should be such that it's the best of a bad option. That's all I can say here. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We take a next question from Christine Perillo. She's saying, how is the abortion handled in the UK? I'll just read out a bit from Wikipedia. So abortion in the United Kingdom is legally available through Abortion Act 1967 in Great Britain and Abortion No. 2 regulations in Northern Ireland 2020. In Britain, abortion is permitted on the grounds of risk to the life of pregnant women, preventing grave permanent injury to her physical and mental health, risk of injury to the physical or mental health of the pregnant women or any existing children or of her family up to a term limit of 24 weeks of gestation, and substantial risk that if the child were born, he or she would suffer from such physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. So that's the gist of it. There is more detail on the Wikipedia if you can have a look. Anything to add on that, Vijay Sitaben?
No, I think that's yeah. Sorry, that's kind of low setup. I think the idea that it can have a physical and mental impact on the mother. That is, I know there's a very big, broad leeway on how that is interpreted. Yes, yeah. There's no clear cut. It's a very subjective matter how you interpret this kind of ideas. Yeah, Sitaben. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a very sort of from a personal perspective. I know that actually a couple attended one of my dad's talks, and Dad happened to be talking about this particular subject. And it so happened that they were planning to have an abortion and they chose not to after listening to Dad. So that child who's grown up now, wherever they are in the world, is alive because they listened to Dad's talk about abortion. So hopefully, these kinds of things are very thought-provoking and they help us to make the right decisions.
Yes, I do remember Ajay Bhai talking about that and sharing that story. So yes, it's wonderful to see Ajay Bhai making that impact in their life, and it's wonderful to see that. And I think in some Hindu books, it says the baby is alive after becomes the Atman enters the body after say 6 or 7 months or something like that. What is your take on that, Sitaben?
I think that actually, as Vijay Bhai also said, and as my dad has also said, that from the point of conception, a soul has entered that body. And I feel like, this is just my own perspective, that soul sort of like shapes the way that the body turns out, because as we have sort of discussed previously with this idea of reincarnation, sometimes, when that soul moves on from one body to another, they carry with them certain marks on their body. And this is not just speculation, this is actual evidence from Dr. Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia, that suppose somebody, they had a wound, like a gunshot wound or something, that child is actually born with a birthmark, which is in the same position, the same kind of mark that they had. So I feel like that soul somehow has some kind of impact as to how the new body is formed, in the womb. So I feel like there is some kind of guided process which that soul is sort of helping along with the journey, because whatever sort of past life impacts that soul has gone through maybe have an impact on the embryo that's being formed. So it's incredibly fascinating, and please do look online on Google and stuff. You'll see there is tremendous evidence of people who have had wounds in their previous life, and they come with those wounds as birthmarks in their current life. And it's incredibly fascinating. It's not just speculation, there is evidence there. So please do have a look. Vijay Bhai?
Not much to add there. Yeah, no, pretty well covered. Yeah.
Okay, we take the next question. I think we run out of questions on this topic of abortion. If any viewers have any questions, please do send us. We'll take a question from Amit Jhat. He's saying, what do you see future of religions? Which gonna thrive, which gonna die? Very interesting question. Vijay bhai?
My answer is very clear. Most of the exclusive faith will die out. It's not, I'm just saying it because I love Hinduism, but it's historical fact. The Egyptian civilization lasted for good 2000 years. It's gone. You know, the Mayan civilization, all these civilizations which are fixated on particular beliefs, they have not lasted. And the fact is, even now, Christianity, it may be expanding in India because people are more gullible and more accepting religion. It's dying out in the West. We know that for sure. I mean, if you look at a lot of, I know Czech is now officially atheist country. 65% of the population of Czechoslovakia, by the Czech Republic, are actually atheist. Even in the UK, we know that most Christians only go to church 3 times: baptism, marriage, and death. They don't go in the middle at all. So the fact is that many of the set core beliefs which don't change with time are set in stone. It may look for a while is expanding, but people eventually think for themselves. But by and large, I think the idea of spiritual humanism, which Jayabhai is promoting, which the seeds is laid down, will actually expand. And most people who talk today, even atheists, those, yeah, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. They keep on saying that. So by and large, I think the idea of people choosing for themselves to explore spirituality, as Sita mentions quite often, that in any way that suits you best, your temperament and your aptitude, through sports, dance, music, art, that's the way to go. I think that's how the world is going. So I don't think that religions which are exclusive faiths based on one particular set book or set beliefs, after a while, the spring gets so tight, you're something 2000 years old and the world is here, that will snap. So you have to be like more like a putty, which keeps on changing with the times, which Hinduism kind of fits very well. So I think by and large, which are broad religions, which have got broad ideas and gives you freedom of how to pursue spiritual goals, will tend to survive. Sita Ben?
I agree completely with you. I feel like maybe humanity is sort of evolving, in the way it thinks about the world and how to make sense of the world. And perhaps this idea of organized religions is maybe starting to fade away because people are moving away from organized religions, but they are still claiming to be spiritual beings. And as we say, like, you don't really need an organized religion. You can have it. It gives you that sort of foundation. It gives you that identity and purpose to have an organized religion. But a lot of people are moving away from that, from all the various religions. Even in Hinduism, like young Hindus these days, they're moving away from Hinduism as well. Christianity, Islam, everywhere, it's happening everywhere. And if we sort of try and make ourselves as broad as possible, not get bogged down by rituals and dogmas and, all of these doctrines and rules that, you're supposed to follow, just keep it broad, focus on the philosophy of all of these traditions, because at the heart of all of these religions, you find that beautiful gem of the philosophy, what the person who founded that religion discovered in the first place. If you sort of highlight that, then it makes it so much more vast, so much more appealing to a broader range of people, rather than being sort of confined to rituals and rules that you have to follow by, certain religions. So keep it broad, keep it spiritual, and, hopefully spirituality will continue to guide humanity to make the right decisions, whether it's to do with the environment, whether it's to do with their family, their community. So having spirituality at the heart of everything can really transform lives for the better.
Very nicely put, Sita Ben, wonderfully put. And Amit Jhat is observing that democracy is core to Hinduism. Of course, we agree with that. And from Rigveda time, we said, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, truth is one, or God is one, and there are many ways to approach it. So we have been open since ancient times, and we've continued in the manner, and we've got Bhagavad Gita, which is talking about different pathways to, progress spiritually. So yes, we agree, democracy is core to Hinduism, just as Vijay bhai and Sita Ben, I think they spoke. We take a next question from, Jay, we'll just take on this Jaydevi's question. She's saying, how can I contact you, please? So we've got a email address you can send an email to, that is hinduacademy@gmail.com. So Hindu Academy, one word, @gmail.com. Also, you can send a WhatsApp message to our number. Hopefully we can get back to you on that. So that will make you join the WhatsApp group we have. The number is 074 595 31967. This is UK number. So if you are not in UK, you need to add 0044 in the beginning, and then it will be 7459531967. Hope that answers that question. Now we take the next question. Donald Trump is asking, sometimes I feel like reincarnation is directly linked with unfulfilled desires of past life. Does law of attraction has an impact on it? Sorry, I'm not sure if I understood the question. He's saying reincarnation is directly linked with unfulfilled desires of past life. Yes, agree. Does law of attraction has any impact on it? Vijay bhai?
You're on mute, Vijay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the law of attraction part, but all I can say, yes, as long as you have unfulfilled desires from the past life or the present life, means you're not ready for moksha yet. Remember the key message of the Gita, renunciation. Until you transcend these basic desires we have, human desires, or attraction to anything, any kind of physical attraction you have, attraction to material things, all these things are unfulfilled desires. Even in your mental state, sometimes you have some desires unfulfilled. Then the law of karma, law of incarnation will apply and keep on until you transcend that. So yes, it's true in that sense. Unfulfilled desires are one of the key reasons why you keep on having reincarnations. Yeah, Sita then.
Yeah, that's exactly why we keep coming round and round the merry-go-round. And Dad always use that example, that say, you're a child and you see a merry-go-round and it looks very, very exciting to start with. You can't wait to get on the merry-go-round, and you go around once and then you think, oh, let me go around again, let me go around again and again. And eventually you'll start to feel like you've kind of, it's not quite as fun anymore. And then eventually you'll feel like, oh, this is really not fun anymore. So eventually that's essentially what all the sort of happiness that you get from the material world leads to. It leads to a temporary fizz and then it disappears. And that's essentially what this idea of spirituality is all about, is that when you sort of come to that realization that the happiness that you gain from the material world is only temporary, it makes you then start your spiritual journey. And as I've said last week, it's one of those things that you can't push or enforce on anybody, that, abandon all your material wants and focus on spirituality. It just does not work. It's counterproductive. So it has to come naturally from within you. And that's why we keep being reborn again and again. We keep choosing to come back on the fun fair ride over and over again until we start to realize something within us will start to stir, and we think, there must be something more to life than, going on that nice holiday or getting that nice car. It makes us realize that, spirituality is at the heart of everything. And that's the only place you're going to get lasting happiness.
Wonderful answer, Sita Ben. And this merry-go-round, makes me think about this. As a person gets through life and gets older, they tend to see that, oh, this is no longer a merry-go-round now. I'm not enjoying, my body is getting weaker now, and there's some problems arising. So, our point of view changes as we go through life, and I think go towards the end of life. And that's where I think this Vanaprastha and Sannyasashram coming. What is your point of view on that? Do we, even in the same life, realize what's going on and try and hence progress, make that progress? Sita?
Yes, that's the thing. So, we keep coming back thinking we want, to achieve this, we want to achieve that. And that desire is sits in your unconscious until it sort of manifests and you start thinking, I need this, I need this, I need this. And that's why in Hinduism, it's incredibly practical, because you always think about Hinduism as being, it's all about renouncing everything and going to meditate in a cave. Whereas actually the 4 aims of Hindu life are dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And they say, go out there, earn your money, go out there, fulfill your legitimate desires, because if you sit there and bottle it up, it's actually extremely counterproductive, and you can be doing a great deal of damage to yourself. So Hinduism is very practical. It says, go out there, do all the material desires that you want, as long as it's legitimate and it doesn't involve killing and murdering and cheating people. Do that, go through the process, because it's only then that stirring will arise within you, that actually going through life is not all just, roses and rainbows. There is a great deal of suffering that goes with it. You buy a lovely car, you might think, I've made it. But then every day you're worried, what if somebody's going to scratch my car? With it comes a great deal of stress and worry as well. So it's only when you go through the process that you realize that, hang on, I should look for something deeper. Vijay bhai?
I think, Sita, you've got it pretty well. So yeah, I think you're right, Manish bhai. Actually, you'd be surprised, not everybody, but most people, when they get older, they start thinking, you know what, I need to give things, I'm getting tired, and I'm going through the whole process now of saying, fulfilling the earth, karma. So, that's all temporal. I need something more solid. So you're right. A lot of people start thinking like that and think more spiritually. But there are quite a few old people I know who are still stuck. They still want to keep hold of the keys to the safe. Don't let that go. They're still worried about whom to give the land to, whom to give the house to. Until the last day on the deathbed, they're saying, only my son should get this and he should get this. They still haven't left that yet. Yeah. So there's some like that, but I think I agree with you, many of us start thinking differently. So hopefully the idea of this, the 4 stages we have is giving us a guidance. Look, please, now one process come, please forget all this, give to your, children and start thinking differently, But that's why we have got this guidance, a beautiful guidance, and we should all try and follow it, even though it's quite hard. Most of us have difficulty giving our mobile phones, giving it big things. So we have to give all that up. So by and large, I think as you get older, yes, you start thinking that, but I don't think it's enough yet. We have to do even more than what we do now. Yeah, that's what I can say, Manish, about that.
That's a wonderful answer, Vijay bhai. Sita Ben, we got a wonderful comment from Jai Devi, who said she unhappily did Garwapsi, means she converted back into Hinduism. And she's saying, I would love to invite Sita Ben on my channel to talk. She's amazing.
Yes.
Oh, that's very kind.
Sita Ben, are you open to?
Yeah, that would be that's very kind of her to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do get in touch, and yes, we'll try and organize that. It'd be great to do that, I think. We take the next question. Harsh Gupta is asking, is there any debate between Mr. Jay Lakhani and Richard Dawkins? Unfortunately, Jay Bhai challenged Dawkins many times, but Dawkins did not respond. So unfortunately, we do not have a debate. It would have been a wonderful debate had it happened, and I'm sure Jay Bhai would have come up trumps with that, because I think he knew how to tackle Dawkins. So any take on that, Sita Ben?
Actually, funnily enough, Dad did bump into Richard Dawkins. I think it was in central London. He just bumped into him, and they had just a very, very brief discussion. I guess it'd be very intense, I don't know. But yeah, Dad was sort of saying about, this idea of spiritual humanism, and Richard Dawkins was like, yeah, and then they parted ways. I wish it could have been a much more in-depth conversation. I would have loved to have seen that happen. But just funnily enough, Dad always said I would love to just get on, and have a debate with Richard Dawkins, who's completely opposite his idea of materialistic, approach to life, and that's all there is to life. Whereas the spiritual humanistic approach, which Dad was all about, is very different. And it makes you think that, if you are, a materialistic person and you think that you are just a sophisticated lump of matter, then it makes no difference what that lump of matter does, whether it's happy or sad or goes around doing good things or bad things. It makes no difference. You've got no purpose in life. It's completely lifeless. So having this idea of spiritual humanism is beautiful, because you're aiming for the ultimate happiness, which is enlightenment. Vijay, do you have anything
Yeah,
to
quite often I actually think what would happen if Jaybai and Richard Dawkins met. Because I've read his books. I've read his God Delusion. I've read the book The Greatest Show on Earth. That's a very good book to read actually. The Greatest Show on Earth on on evolution, selfish gene. But Richard Dawkins, primarily he's against the Abrahamic faith because they claim to exclusivity. He really doesn't bother with Hinduism or Buddhism. He doesn't worry him or doesn't bother with them. But nevertheless, he's, as Sita mentioned, totally atheist, cast in a material idea. So he's not really interested. So I don't think even if Jaybai or somebody planning, he would not turn up. I think that's my personal view on that. Yeah.
Interesting. We take a next question from last week. Someone asked, Hers asked actually, that can you please explain Sita Agni Pariksa? Now coming back into this women's rights issue and Sita Agni Pariksa. Vijay bhai?
Yeah, I think this has been covered a few times before. The key thing is that I think at the time of Ram was very much concerned about the structure of society and stability in society. Dharma means uphold society and keep it together. So I think Ram had no problem. He had full, respect of Sita and belief in Sita and full love for that. He did not worry, about anything. But to show society itself, the issue was, I think somebody raised in his kingdom that she has stayed with a different man for a long time. How dare she come back? How dare Ram accept her? So the Agni Pariksa to show society that she's still pure, she's still a pure person. So I think Ram was very cautious that he sets an example, leads by example. I think we should take it from that angle. I think if you bring the idea of human rights and all this, then I think it messes up the idea. Take the key message from it. Don't go too deep into, Sita has a human rights, and it doesn't work that way. It's a different story, a different times, different kind of, the theme is only different of the Ramayana, yeah? Sita, man?
I think another sort of part of that story is that Sita herself was a very special personality as well. She's not like an ordinary woman off the street. So she was prepared to sort of go through this sort of trial because she wanted to sort of prove her purity and her innocence, that she was not just staying at some other man's house. She was still as pure as ever. So she was a great sort of spiritual giant in her own right, and so was Ram. And their whole purpose of life was not to live for themselves but to live for others. And in order to sort of keep the moral fabric of the kingdom together, they had to sort of make this demonstration, even though both of them knew in their heart of hearts that they are both completely innocent. Their whole lives are sacrificed for the greater good. So Sita also chose to sort of go through this process to prove her innocence, and Ram had to agree with it. And then later on, they had to part ways, and again that would cause a great deal of sadness for them, but they were prepared to do that because they are spiritually enlightened beings who just look out for the welfare of the humanity of the kingdom that they were living for. So it's only such spiritual giants who can live like that, and we've got a lot to learn from spiritual giants like them.
Wonderful answer, Sitaben. Just thinking about it in modern context, what should a man do if a wife lives away from him, and he has doubts, but she's saying she's pure and good? And I think that trust should be there to accept, and I think I'll put it wrong way. So let's say that the trust between husband and wife should be there, so they trust each other, and there should be, I'm not sure how to put this question anymore.
Yeah.
How do we look at it in modern context if such a thing happens where there are doubts on a woman's character and she's lived far away from husband? Vijay.
Actually, this used to happen a lot. I remember when I was very young, I know my father was away in Africa working, and my mother was in India for a long time. And the key issue is trust. and the idea of family support, and the whole family works together. And I think trust is by far the most important thing in such a situation. And I think if you have too many doubts, then I think it's not a way to live, really. Yes. So, but that's my view on that. Yeah, Sita.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult situation because you want to be able to trust your partner as much as possible, but maybe if that is a doubt inside you, rather than sort of bottling it up and making it worse inside yourself, just ask your partner. They are meant to be your best friend, so just ask them, is everything okay? Ideally, these kind of situations will never happen, but if you have that trust, you have that strong marriage, then hopefully these issues will never arise. But you just don't know. Life is incredibly complicated, so you just have to try your best to be as loyal and faithful to your partner, because you're not just living for yourself when you get married, you're living for your partner, you're living for your family, your children, the elderly in your family. And that's, if you have that kind of a mindset, then you will always try and make the right decisions.
Wonderful answer, Sita Ben. We've got so many questions, and we got like 7 minutes left on this session. So let's do some quick question answers. Over to you, Sita Ben. Did caste system exist in Vedic period? What's your answer?
We believe in this sort of stratification of society. That's a very ancient idea that, you should do what you are good at. And that's nothing unusual. There's nothing controversial. That's what we do in society throughout the world for hundreds of thousands of years. That's what we do. But the problem with it comes with the hereditary hierarchical caste system, which we have discussed many, many times, which caused a great deal of social oppression, and it's nothing to do with the religion. We have to keep rubbing that in. It's a social failing, a cultural failing, and nothing to do with the beautiful religious ideas and the philosophy.
Very wonderfully put, Sita Ben. We'll take next question. Christian Perillo is asking, how does Hinduism view forgiveness of others when they have done bad things to you? Vijay bhai.
So that is actually a hard thing to do, but if you do that, it incurs good karma. Actually, also makes you feel better, because all the anger and vengeance you have goes as well. So yes, if you can forgive somebody for bad things done to you, it's a good thing. That's all I can add to that. Yeah.
Okay, Amit Jat is asking what you think about codification of religions, Sita Ben. Codification of religion.
So does that mean sort of putting in rules and stuff like that? So yes, there is some pros and there are some negatives as well. So the pros is it gives you structure, it gives you identity. If it involves going to the temple or church or whatever it is regularly, it gives you that focus on a more spiritual outlook. But sometimes they can become counterproductive when those codes of conduct become more important than the philosophy underneath. Then it can become very counterproductive and you lose sight of the bigger picture.
Okay, that leads to next question, Vijay bhai. Explain about the Gautam Sutra on punishment of Sudras.
Yeah, I think we should be very careful. Hinduism has got so many scriptures. Some are really weird, bizarre, and the Gautam Sutra is not a good one. So I know it says all kinds of punishment of Sudras if they hear the Vedas. Please ignore them. They're antique, archaic, and just throw them away. Just like, I know some people get very upset when I mention Garur Purana, which talks about all these punishments you face in hell if you do this, that. Please don't fall in that trap. Stick to the other better scriptures like the Gita, the Upanishads. But by and large, because of freedom we have in Hinduism, people write all these kind of scriptures. They're not right today. They passed the sell by death. So just ignore them, put them away. Yeah.
Very well put, Vijay bhai. Yes, we do have lots of scriptures and books, and some of them we may not agree with it as well. So there you go. Ajay Reddy saying, he's saying, I'm sad with some Hindus who discourage outsiders who are interested in Hinduism. A good friend in Brazil who had to suffer from fellow Hindus there as he converted to Hinduism. Now, this does happen. We Hindus tend to be a close-knit community. I was watching a video about Uganda and Idi Amin, and what he said is, these Indians, they're close-knit community. They only look after each other, and they're only marrying in each other, not intermingling and not helping the Africans. So it does happen. We tend to be close-knit community. We tend to, relate to each other very well. And we are open in a way, but we tend to keep to ourselves. And if some new people come, sometimes they are not very well accepted or treated, and it does happen. What is your view on that, Vijay?
Yeah, so all I can add is that Jabe has been trying to fight that as well and make realize Hinduism is a universal religion, not just for Hindus only. But yes, it does happen. I think it's not right. If somebody is open to Hindu ideas, then please share them and accept them for that. Yeah. So I think we Hindus do that. I know we tend to still keep close knit. We need to open up a bit. I think it's happening, but maybe a bit slowly. Yeah. So I can say.
Javin, your take on that?
Yeah, I agree, because we really need to keep up with the times, because we're not just living in India and we're not just in some little hole there. We are international, we are a diaspora, we are all over the world, and we need to interact with the greater world, with people of other cultures and religions, and just be proud of ourselves, because we have a habit of sort of, being sort of maybe shy about talking about religion, but we've got a beautiful religion which has stood the test of time for thousands of years. Just let it shine, let people see what it's all about, and welcome them with open arms if they want to take whatever aspects of it they like from it.
Wonderful, thank you for that, Sitaben. We take last two questions. We're coming really towards the end. Harsh Gupta is asking some thoughts on Max Muller. Did he deliberately misinterpret our history? Vijay bhai?
So I think the Max Muller, what he's trying to do is, yes, he did that, but the main reason why he was translating the scriptures was because he was hoping that that can then be used as ammunition against us. But he realized actually it's not that straightforward, because Hinduism is far more philosophical and strong. So yes, in some cases he did misuse information to try and put Hindus down. But by and large, I think the biggest thing he did, which I guess positive, was he exposed the scriptures to the West, and they realized, oh, by the way, this is not some ragtag stuff. This is far more advanced religion. So there was two sides to that coin. That's all I can add to that. Yeah.
Okay, we take a next question. Last question for the day. Tushar Patel is asking, does Hinduism or Hindu Dharma do flowers have a soul or jivatma, or are they innate like a stone? So do flowers have a soul or jivatma, or are they innate? Sitaben?
Well, we believe that they're living things, so I think they probably do have a soul. It's probably less evolved, because humanity is the most sort of evolved, and in terms of mentally and thinking and consciousness and all of that. But probably the flower, yes, is a soul, and when that soul sort of in the flower passes on, maybe they'll take on a more complex form and become closer and closer towards a human being, and become a human being at some point. So maybe we've all been flowers before, we don't know.
Mrs. Bhai, over to you.
Wonderful. What an amazing session we had today. And I have to congratulate Manish Bhai, Vijay Bhai and Sitaben for handling a very sensitive topic in a very balanced manner. So I've had some great feedback from the people watching us online, people from all parts of the world. We've got Australia, we've got the US, we've got South Africa, India, many places, and everyone's really enjoyed the session today. So thank you all for that. Now, before we close the session for today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to celebrate with you all, because those of you who've been regular on the channel know I keep on harping about this every week. I come up and tell you that, folks, please give me a little bit of support. Come and join this course on the basics of Hinduism. And I always tell you that I've got a goal to get to 8,000. So there we go. Today we've hit 8,000 straight on the head. And now the next goal is 10,000. So if you've been on this course before, please do share with us some feedback on how you found it. If you haven't been on this course, I highly encourage you to sign up for it. How do you sign up for it? You can go to our website. There is some basic information here, but you can sign up for the course here. So our website is hindu-academy.com. If you face any trouble, you've got my contact details here. You can also download the Hinduism ebooks that we've got on PDF for you. And the final thing is, we had a number of viewers who were new or have come back after a while to the channel. And they've been asking us about certain topics that have already been covered in the previous sessions. Because we did not have enough time to cover their questions on this session, I would encourage you to go to the channel and search for the videos, because we have over 3,000 videos for your viewing ready for you to check. So please do check that out. As with every session, I like to end with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. And today's quote relating to the topic that we're talking about is, where can we go to find God? We cannot see him in our own hearts and in every living being. So before that decision is made to abort or not, this is one thing that you should look at. And that's it. So we've had a great session today. Thank you all for joining us. And I will just say we will see you next week, same time, 2 o'clock UK. And we wish you a blessed week ahead. Bye-bye for now.